Welcome. All right, before we begin, we have to understand the word Jainism itself. Jainism is an English term based on the Indian term, Sanskrit Prakrit term, Jain. Jain term itself is based on the another term called Jina. Jina is based on the meaning of conquering. Jinas are the conquerors, one who have conquered. What have they conquered? They have conquered themselves non-violently. They are the most unique conquerors in the world. They are non-violent conquerors. They have not used any weapons. They have not used any military. They have only used their self-discipline, self-control, their vows, their non-violence to conquer their own selves. So those are the Jinas. So the people who follow Jinas are Jainas. So Jains or Jainas are the followers of the Jinas. Now, Jainism became a prominent phenomenon within the Indic study, within Indology, by a German scholar, by a German Indologist. His name was Dr. Hermann Jacobi. He lived from 1850 to 1937 in Germany. He later joined hands with Max Müller and produced Sacred Books of the East, Volume 22. This was the first ever published book by a Western scholar, Western Indologist, Sacred Books of the East series, Max Müller series. And on Jainism, the volume was 22nd volume, in which Hermann Jacobi first time proved to the world, outside India that is, that Jainism is not an offshoot of Hinduism or Buddhism. It looks very similar. Buddha and Mahavir, if they are sitting in meditation, it's very difficult for anybody to figure out whether that's a Mahavir posture, Mahavir image or a Buddha image. But Hermann Jacobi, by meticulous research, established for the world that Jainism is a separate, distinct, unique religion, different from Hinduism or Buddhism. So that's his contribution. Of course, Jains, now there are several overlaps. There is no watertight compartment in India. Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism use several words that are common across all three: dharma and karma, punarjanam, atma, and on and on. Dhyana, meditation, many practices, many terms are overlapping within these three traditions. So we'll study and we'll get into what are the differences, what are similarities also in these three different traditions of ancient India. Now, so who are these Jinas? Jinas, as I said, they are the conquerors. What have they conquered? They have conquered their attachment and hatred, rag and dvesh. So they have no rag, no attachment, no dvesh, no hatred. They are free from hatred and attachment. They are liberated from the bonds of worldly existence, samsara. So we are using English language, but I'll introduce many Indian terms also. Now, Jainism, when we talk about Jain terms, we are not using Sanskrit language. The ancient language of Jainism is not Sanskrit, unlike Hinduism. Jainism uses a different ancient language called Prakrit. Simply means natural language. Prakriti is nature, Prakrit is natural language. So Jainism used the terms from Prakrit language, and all its scriptures, ancient scriptures, are all in Prakrit. So samsara, again, but Prakrit also has common words, like in Sanskrit also we have this word samsara. So Jinas or Jin in Prakrit, Hindi, Sanskrit, Indian language will say Jin. In English we say Jinas. Jinas got liberation, moksha, from worldly existence, samsara. So they are out of the punarjanam cycle. They are never coming back on this earth, right? So cycle of birth and death, they have transcended. They have conquered that cycle of rebirth. They are never coming back because they are liberated. They have attained their moksha. Jinas have also attained omniscience or perfect knowledge, samyak gyan. Omniscience or keval gyan or kavalya. They have attained kavalya. Kavalya is this perfect knowledge, supreme knowledge, omniscience. So what is that omniscience? Jinas have attained absolute omniscience of everybody, about everybody, every being in the universe. So they do know the past, the present, and future of all the beings in the universe. The Jain universe, the Jain Loka, I will show an image also. In the Jain Loka, there are these different levels. So there is Siddhashila, where liberated beings live forever. There is earth in the middle. Below the earth are there hells. Above the earth, there are heavens. So Jinas are those beings that they can see across these levels of universe. They can see in Siddhashila, they know about heavens, they know about earth, they know about hells also. So those are the jinnas. So jinnas have attained this supreme knowledge. Jinnas have destroyed their own karmas. Now, karma is a unique concept in Jainism. Karma is imagined or mentioned as karma particles, as if dust particles have stuck to the soul. Everybody's soul is full of these dust particles, but jinnas have cleaned their soul, cleansed off their soul, completely devoid of any karma particles. So they've destroyed their karma completely. Those are the jinnas. They have conquered their karma, so they have removed their karma. And most importantly, jinnas are not gods of Jainism, in the sense that jinnas are not the creator, not the destroyer, nor the protector of the universe. They have not created this universe. They will not be destroying this universe. Many other religions like Hinduism or Christianity, Islam, Judaism, they have creator God, destroyer God, and so on. But jinnas are not in any such role there in Jainism. So jinnas are very important role models for Jains, but they are not like gods in other religions such as Christianity, Islam, or Hinduism, or so on. Jinnas have not created this universe. Jinnas will not destroy this universe, and jinnas are also not protector of the universe. So they are not in that role of creating the world or destroying the world. Jinnas are simply role models who have attained their omniscience, their keval gyan, by their own efforts, by their own meditation, by removing the karma particles. All right. Another key term in Jainism, Tirth and Tirthankar. Tirth is there in Hinduism also, probably Buddhism also, but Tirthankar is a unique Jain term. What is that term now? Let's understand. Tirth, first of all, let's understand what Tirth is. What is Tirth? Tirth is where, when we go there, practitioners, when they go there, they are assured or they have hope of transcending this world and getting into moksha, attaining moksha from the place which is called as Tirth. For example, Varanasi, Kashi. So Tirthankar in Jainism is not a physical place, but it's a spiritual state that Tirthankar, when they come to this earth, they establish new Tirthas, that is new community of people, of practitioners and ascetics of Jainism. When one joins that community, they are blessed or they get this assurance that they will attain moksha. If not in this life, maybe next life or so on. So Tirthankaras establish Tirthas in Jainism. All right. So Tirthas are once again congregation or community of monks, nuns, laymen and lay women. Jainism may be the oldest tradition in the world that equated all genders since beginning. Monks and nuns, laymen and lay women. So society was divided into four parts: ascetics and lay people. Within ascetics, two parts: monks and nuns, and within householders, laymen and lay women. So all four parts are equal in status in a way, because all of these four components create the Tirtha. So monks and nuns were given equal status since beginning, in this one sense at least. So Tirthankar in English is translated with a unique term by Professor Paul Dundas, late Professor Paul Dundas in England. He coined this new term, very interesting term, ford maker. Tirth is like a ford, like I said, bridge that one can walk and cross this from this world to the next world. Ford is that same place, same meaning in English, same word in English with similar meaning. So ford maker, Tirthankar is ford maker, or even simpler English, simply bridge builder. Tirthankars are the bridge builders. Bridge that one crosses from this world to the next world, the moksha world, the moksha land. All right. Now every time cycle of every universe from Jain perspective always will have 24 Tirthankaras. Only 24 bridge builders, only 24 ford makers. Why 24? That's I guess some random number, or just there might be some reason. But 24 is the number fixed. 24. So there is a time cycle for the entire universe. So universe was never created. Universe will never destroy, according to Jainism. Time never started. Time will never end. It's an infinite cycle. It's an infinite universe. But each cycle has a fixed, some millions and millions of years of each cycle is going on. So in each cycle, there are 24 Tirthankaras, according to Jainism. So in this present time cycle that we are living in, for our time cycle, the first Tirthankar, first ford maker or bridge builder his name was Rishabh Dev or Rishabh Nath. He's also called as Adinath. Adi simply means beginning. So Lord of beginning. Nath means Lord. Lord. Adi Nath, Lord of beginning. All right. And 24th Tirthankar. 24th is the last Tirthankar because, like I said, 24 fixed number of Tirthankaras are given in Jainism in one time cycle. 24th Tirthankar was Mahavir. Mahavir lived from 599 to 527 BCE, and he was a contemporary of the Buddha. Now, out of these 24 Tirthankaras, scholars have discovered evidences, archaeological and textual evidence of Mahavir and the predecessor of Mahavir, his name was Parshvanath. So 23rd Tirthankar was Parshvanath. So we have evidence, historical evidence, archaeological evidence of Parshvanath and Mahavir, but we do not have any historical evidence before that. Of course, we have evidence for Buddha also. So historically, we can pinpoint and say Mahavir was born in Vaishali, maybe in Bihar, in present-day Bihar. Buddha was born in Lumbini. So we have historical evidence of Buddha and Mahavir. So scholars universally accept that Mahavir and Buddha were two separate figures. Initially, they thought they were the same figure. But now everybody accepts, even Western scholars and Indian scholars, of course, they accept that Mahavir and Buddha were contemporary. They both lived and preached mostly in UP and Bihar, present-day Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. And they both lived and died in that region. So, like I said, Buddha was born in Lumbini, Nepal. Mahavir was born near Vaishali in Bihar. Mahavir passed away in Pavapuri in Bihar. And Buddha passed away in Kushinagar in UP, Uttar Pradesh, near Gorakhpur. So their region was very similar. Their time period was very similar. They looked very similar. Their teachings also have some overlaps. But they were two distinct figures of Mahavir and Buddha. Buddha means the awakened ones, the awakened one. Mahavir means Maha, great, Veer, warrior, or the brave hero. But what did he win? What did he conquer? Why is he called as Veer or brave or valiant? Because once again, he conquered himself by destroying his karma particles. So that was Mahavir. We'll get into more details of these figures as we go along. This is just an overview or introductory lecture on Jainism, what Jainism is. All right, then. Now when we talk about Jainism, we should probably call it Jain Dharma from Indian perspective, because Jain Dharma is translated crudely in English with Jainism, which is an English term, with all those connotations. Now, but Jain Dharma or Jainism is also known as Shraman Dharma in ancient India. Shraman Dharma. Now, why Shraman? Shraman comes from Sanskrit Prakrit term Shram. Shram means efforts. A tradition, a dharma that puts highest importance on self-efforts. It is not based on somebody's grace, somebody's blessing, somebody's miracle that you will attain moksha. No. Only your own efforts can lead you towards moksha. Not somebody's grace, not somebody's blessings, no miracles here. Only your own efforts, your own fasting, your own fasts, your own meditations, your own efforts can rid you from your karma particles and you can attain liberation. So, Shraman Dharma. Now, Shraman word includes the Buddhists also, the yogis also, anybody, any practitioner that defies all blessings or miracles and depends only on one's own efforts are all Shramanas. And Jainism are probably the most iconic Shramanas because they put highest importance on one's own self-efforts. No miracles, no blessings, and no grace from anybody. So Jainism is, like I said, synonymously can be called as Shraman Dharma. Shraman Dharma is a parallel stream of Vedic Dharma. Vedic Dharma, where there are a lot of gods and goddesses and different practices. Shraman Dharma is a parallel stream. So many scholars believe these Vedic stream and Shraman stream have been running in ancient India for millennia, for thousands of years. We don't know when it started, Vedic stream and Shraman stream. They're both parallel, they give and take, they enrich each other, they learn from each other, they give and take. But both streams have been running parallelly for millennia in India. Then, another term for Jainism is Nirgranth Dharma. Nirgranth, non-attachment. A tradition, a practice, a dharma where there is no attachment. No attachment to one's own body and mind, no attachment to wealth, no attachment to one's siblings, family. Detachment. Detachment highlights Nirgrantha. Vratya Dharma, third name for Jainism is Vratya Dharma. Vratya comes from the word Vrat. Vrat means vow. V-O-W, right? So Jainism highlights vows, many vows that I'll show you in the next few slides. The great vows people take, ascetics and even lay people. What are those vows? I'll show you in a second. So Vratya Dharma, another name for Jainism. Another term is Arhat Dharma. Arhat is once again a word which is which is used in Buddhism also. Arhat is enlightened beings. Those who have attained enlightenment, those who have attained moksha are all called as Arhat. So Jainism once again highlights these enlightened beings, these Tirthankaras, the Jinas. So Jainism is also called as Arhat Dharma. So several names: Shaman Dharma, Nirgrantha Dharma, Vratya Dharma, and Arhat Dharma. 4 different names of Jainism. All right, next. Now, Jain figures such as Rishabh Dev or Rishabhnath, the first Tirthankara I mentioned, and many others such as Ajit Nath, one of the Tirthankaras, Arishtnemi, one of the other Tirthankaras, are also mentioned in Hindu texts. Like I said, Vedic stream and Shraman stream have been running parallelly for thousands of years. So Vedic stream, the Hindu stream, has mentioned these names coming from Jain stream many times in their texts, where Arhan word is mentioned in Rig Veda. Then Vatrasena is mentioned in Rig Veda, also in Bhagavad Puran. Keshi and Rishabha, again Jain terms, Jain figures, mentioned in Rig Veda and Bhagavad Puran. Then Rishabh, Ajit and Arishtnemi are also mentioned in Yajur Veda. So many references we find, even Hindu Vedic texts also references to Jain figures. All right, next slide. Now let's take a glimpse of what Jain philosophy is. So Jain philosophy highlights soul, Atman. Atma is the supreme being in Jainism. Atma hi Paramatma. Atma is Paramatma. Atma is supreme being, supreme soul. There is no creator God, there is no other God, but one's own soul which can become Paramatma. Right? So soul-oriented philosophy is Jainism. So now every soul's goal is what? To attain moksha. Moksha means liberation. Moksha comes from the root much. Much means to get freedom, to free. Much becomes moksha in Sanskrit and Prakrit, Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, all 3 traditions have been using this term. So Jainism also uses this term, moksha, which is to attain liberation. Liberation from what? Liberation from cycle of rebirth. You're never coming back to this earth because you attain moksha and you are forever, you go to Siddhashila, the highest, the final frontier of the universe, what I call as the final frontier of the universe, the topmost layer of the universe. Jainism imagines universe like a multi-storied building. So when we attain moksha, we go to the last floor of this universe, last final frontier of the universe. All right. Then Jain philosophy highlights 3 jewels of Jainism. Ratna Trayaha. Ratna means jewel. Trayaha, 3. 3 jewels of Jainism. They are also called as, can also be called as threefold path of liberation. Right faith, Samyak Darshan. Right knowledge, Samyak Gyan. And right conduct, Samyak Charitra or Charitre. Right faith, right knowledge, right conduct. Now let's take a little bit deeper look on these 3. All right, first, right faith. So I just mentioned in like few minutes back that there is no creator God here. There is nothing to be worshipped. There is no grace coming from any God. And now we talk about faith. So if there are no gods or goddesses in Jainism, whom should we have faith on? So the answer is, one should have faith, a Jain practitioner should have faith not on the gods or goddesses, but on the preachings of the Jina, of their Jina, their role models. So these role models, the Jinas, the Tirthankaras, what they preach? They preach this. They preach that soul exists. Soul is eternal. Soul was never born. Soul will never die. Soul is infinite. Soul is eternal. Worldly soul, like all of us living in this world, are bounded by karma. We are all inundated with karma particles. We have these so many rags and dvesh. We think in positive, negative way that all binds new karma particles on us. We speak positive, negative, that also binds karma. We do physical actions, positive or negative, everything binds new karma particles on our soul. So worldly soul, all souls are bounded by karma. Karma is the cause of rebirth, and those karma particles are what causes rebirth. Karma particles can be destroyed. How? Like I said, by meditation, by fasts, and so on. You might have seen images or you might have heard Jain ascetics take great pride in doing extreme, ultimate kinds of renunciation, ultimate kind of austerities. Number of days they can keep doing fasts for like 30 days, 60 days, even 90 days without food, 90 days. That is the ultimate level of Jain austerities. So that is the way Jain belief is, Jain philosophy is. By those austere practices, karma particles are destroyed from your soul. The soul becomes clean. Soul is cleansed off from karma particles by doing these fasts and meditation. And once karma particles are destroyed, one can attain moksha. So this is the right faith. This is what Jinas preach. This is the right faith, that you have to have faith on these 6 steps. Soul exists, soul is eternal, soul is bound by karma, karma can be destroyed, and once karma are destroyed, you can attain moksha. Next, right knowledge. Now, what kind of right knowledge is to be preached? It was preached by Jinas, that this world is filled with jivas and ajivas, living beings and non-living beings. Now, most interesting, what are the living beings according to Jainism? There are 5 kinds of living beings. Jivas. Jivas is the Prakrit of Sanskrit word. Jiva simply means living beings that has a soul. So, 5 kinds of jivas or living beings from Jain perspective. Touch only, that is immobile beings. Beings which have touch and taste, 2 senses. Their lifespan is for 12 years. Then beings with 3 senses, touch, taste and smell. They have lifespan of 49 days. Then beings with 4 senses, touch, taste, smell and see, and they live for 6 months. And finally, beings with 5 senses, like human beings also are part of that, touch, taste, smell, see and hear. They have 5 senses. What are those beings? Birds, reptiles, mammals, like human beings. Mammals and human beings, separate category I've created. So mammals, so birds, reptiles, mammals, humans, gods and demons. 6 kinds of beings are all part of the 5 sense beings that are panchendriya. So 5 is panchendriya, and 4 senses, 3 and 2 and 1. The words are ekendriya, behendriya and so on, also in that Prakrit language. So this comes from Jiva Vichar Prakaranam, written by Shanti Suri in 11th century CE. So what he wrote is, Shanti Suri, what he mentioned is that touch, now the most interesting part, touch only beings include earth, water, fire, air, nigodas and plants. What does that mean? That earth-bodied beings have soul. Water-bodied beings have soul. Fire-bodied beings have soul. Air-bodied beings have soul. Plants have soul. And nigodas have soul. Nigoda means one-cell beings. That is like amoeba kind of particles that have only one cell. All of these entities, we should not probably call them entities, all of these beings are living beings. So Jainism teaches, do not cause harm to any living beings, including earth, fire, water, air, and nigodas and plants. We're not supposed to cause violence to any of these beings. Right? Then, worms, leeches, oysters, and snails are part of 2 sense beings. All right? So, do not cause harm, do not cause violence to these living beings. Third, 3 sense beings include insects and spiders. Do not hurt even them. 4 sense beings, butterflies, flies, and bees. Do not cause violence to them. Now, most important, the last category, 5 sense beings. Do not cause, so highest form of violence would be when you kill a fellow human being, or you kill a mammal, or you kill a reptile, or you kill a bird. Those are all equal level of violence. To kill a human being, or to kill another mammal, or to kill a bird, or to kill a reptile is extreme violence. They are all at the same level. So almost all Jains today in the world, wherever they are, they obviously are not killing any human being, but they will not kill any animal for food. They are all vegetarians. Almost all Jains that at least I know are all vegetarians. This is the logic, because to kill an animal or a bird would be same amount of violence as if you're killing a human being. So cannibalism is equated with meat consumption from this category of 5 sense beings created by Shanti Suri in 11th century CE. This is the fundamental rationale why Jains are vegetarians. So what this chart teaches us or tells us is, for human survival, only bare minimum of violence is allowed, as less violence as possible. So consumption of only 1 sense beings is allowed. So, which means minimum of earth you can consume, 1 sense being, minimum of water, no wastage of earth, no harm to earth, no wastage of water, minimum of fire, so no wastage of energy. Any energy is part of fire. So many devout Jains will not eat after the sunset, because after sunset, if you're doing any activity, You're wasting more energy, you're consuming more energy, you're doing violence to fire. So depend on only sun, only solar energy. Do not eat, do not cook, do not read, do not write after the sunset. Less activities, as less as possible. So fire, minimum of fire is to be taken. Minimum of air. So many ascetics will not use any no air conditioner, no ceiling fan, because you want to minimize violence even to air. So less air, less fire, less water, and less earth to be consumed. And plants can be consumed, but even within plants, many plants are not to be consumed by Jains. Why? Because, let's say, example, potatoes, onions, eggplants, that is brinjals, are not to be consumed by Jains, because by consuming them, you're causing violence to an entire plant, right? Because those are the root or stem of a plant. So even those are to be avoided. Again, minimizing the violence is to be learned from this chart. That's why you see many Jains, devout Jains, will not eat garlic, onion, and so on. Any root vegetable they will avoid. So these are the reasons, these are the rationales for Jain practices, Jain ideas, Jain philosophy, and so on. All right, let's go to now next slide. Right knowledge, ajiva. So if everything is living being, right, earth, water, fire, air, everything is living, then what are non-living beings from Jain perspective? Here is the answer. Medium of motion, dharmastika, is non-living. Medium of rest, that is adharmastika, is non-living. Akashastika, that is space, akash, is also non-living. Time is non-living. And pudgal, that is karma particle that gets stuck to the soul, are also non-living. So pudgal have touch, taste, color, and smell. Those are all non-living. Only these are non-living. Other than that, everything in this universe is living. Air, water, earth, and fire are also living beings from Jain perspective. So do not cause them violence. Do not waste them, at least. All right. Then right conduct. So we are covering the 3 jewels of Jainism, right? So right faith we covered, right knowledge we covered, and now right conduct. Right conduct. The 5 great vows of Jainism, VOW, vow. Non-violence, ahimsa. Truthfulness, satya. Non-stealing, asteya, they are self-explanatory. Celibacy, brahmacharya. And non-possession, aparigraha. These are the 5 vows to be practiced by all Jains. Now there are 2 gradations within these vows. If there are ascetics, Jain ascetics, that is Jain monks and nuns, will practice these 5 vows in their ultimate expression. So ultimate of ahimsa, non-violence, ultimate of satya, the truthfulness, ultimate of asteya, non-stealing, and ultimate of brahmacharya, that is celibacy, and ultimate of aparigraha, that is non-possession. So Jain ascetics, you will see almost no violence ever they will practice. No violence in physical actions, no violence in speech, no violence in thinking, in thought, man, vachan, and karma, non-violent. Satya, extreme truthfulness, they will practice. Non-stealing, of course, you can't steal anything that is that does not belong to you. Celibacy. So Jain monks and nuns, you will see them always in separate cabins, separate rooms, separate areas. They will never even interact with opposite gender. So extreme form of, or ultimate, let's use the word ultimate form of celibacy, brahmacharya, you will see as practiced by Jain monks and nuns. And aparigraha. Digambar, so the Jainism has 2 sects, Digambar and Shwetambar. Digambar are translated as sky-clad. Shwetambar translated usually as white-clad because they have white garments, white robes, Shwetambars. Digambar monks have no clothes at all. They practice complete nudity, complete nakedness. Why? Because that's the ultimate expression, ultimate manifestation of aparigraha. Even clothes are like possessions. So Digambar monks go to that ultimate practice where they renounce even their clothing. They've already renounced their family, their wealth, everything. They even renounce their clothing. That's the ultimate practice of aparigraha, non-possession, by Digambar monks, the sky-clad monks, sky-clad ascetics. So Mahavratas are those vratas, the great vows as practiced by ascetics. Anuvratas, or minor vows, as practiced by householders. So householders will not go to that ultimate expression, but minor versions of these vows. So they can have their household, they can have their family, they can have their marriage and children and so on, but they are supposed to follow the footsteps of their ascetics and minimize their possessions and so on. And ultimately, they are recommended to also renounce their family life eventually and join the path laid down by these ascetics. All right, now So if we summarize this overview of Jainism, we can probably see Jainism as triple A religion. A. First A is for ahimsa, non-violence. Aparigraha, non-possession. That is, so what aparigraha teaches us is that karmic footprints are equal to carbon footprints. If we minimize our carbon footprint, we will also minimize our karmic footprints. Karmic footprint, when they are zero, one will attain moksha. Carbon footprint, when it is zero, net zero, this earth will become more sustainable. So carbon footprints are equated with karmic footprints. The consumption is to be reduced, consumption is to be brought down to zero. That's one of the Jain teachings of aparigraha. Then anekant. Anekant means unekant. Ekant means one point of view. Anekant, multiple points of view. So Professor Arvind Sharma, how he summarized Anekantvad, I quote him here: plurality of reality equals reality of plurality. This world thrives with pluralities of meanings, of different philosophies. Everything has multiple perspectives. That is the ultimate reality. That's what Jainism celebrated thousands of years back by coining this new term called Anekantvad, uniquely Jain term, Anekantvad. And finally, we take a look at the Jain mantra that every Jain is supposed to memorize, and every now and then they chant this mantra as they go to any Jain temple or so on. This is called as Namokar mantra, which goes like this: Namo Arihantanam, that is, I bow down to enlightened individuals. Namo Siddhanam, I bow down to liberated souls. Namo Airyanam, I bow down to religious heads. Namo Uvajjayanam, I bow down to religious preachers. Namo Loe Savvasahunam, I bow down to all ascetics of the entire universe. Eso Panch Namukkaro, with these 5 prayers, Savva Pava Pranasano, I get rid of all kinds of negative karmas or papas. Mangalanam cha Savvesing, Padmam Havai Mangalam. One who recites this mantra will have the most auspicious efforts in his or her efforts towards moksha. So this mantra is kind of a blessing on oneself by remembering these role models, by following their footsteps. One can keep following in the footsteps of these great enlightened beings, liberated beings, religious heads, religious preachers, and all ascetics of the universe. That is the Jain mantra called as Namokar mantra.